Live from BBC World News, this is Special Report. Here's your host, Mitchell Mercer.
Good day everyone, I'm Mitchell Mercer. We're coming on air to show you the special report of the current climate of trench warfare that the Allied and Central Powers have been facing during this large-scale attack, otherwise known as World War I. For my latest report out of Germany, here's an in-depth look at the experience of trench warfare.
Here in Germany, trench warfare is a protective tactic full of deep ditches that were dug as a protect mechanism to save soldiers on both sides from the reality of machine guns and artillery they were facing. Despite soldiers living and sleeping in the trenches while fighting, it was a lot more of a complex experience overall.
It's crazy, man. I mean, you can see somebody die every day, immediately. You probably could die right now. Little artillery just fly down on us. Rats are huge. Rats probably the size of my shoe. And it's just tough.
At dawn, which was the usual time for an enemy attack, soldiers woke up to a stand-to formation, which was guarding their frontline trenches from the enemy. Afterwards, if there had not been an assault, they gathered for inspections, breakfast, and the daily rum ration. During daylight hours, soldiers conducted all work below ground and away from the snipers searching rifles. In between work fatigues, there was often time for leisure activities such as reading, keeping journals, writing letters to their families, or even doing some gambling with other soldiers. Unfortunately, nighttime in the trenches were both the busiest and the most dangerous. Under the cover of darkness, soldiers often climbed out of their trenches and moved into no man's land, an area that separated the two armies. Maintenance would be repairing barbed wire or digging new trenches. Aggressive operations from the trenches involved patrolling for enemy activity or conducting raids to kill or capture enemy troops or to gather initial from the opposing enemy. Trenches were mainly used in the Western Front during World War I, as both Allied and Central Powers used this style of war to protect their soldiers at all costs. Additionally, spies were consistent in the trenches. They were always lurking either inside or around them. On the downside, soldiers going through the experience of living in the trenches was complete hell. The threat of large rats, soldiers dying left and right, blood splattering everywhere, a limited food supply, and cold temperatures were some of the consistent threats soldiers face while living in this style of trench warfare.
It's rough out here. It's not too sanitary. A bunch of rats. Low on food most of the time. And it's constant shelling and my barking. Pretty tough out here in the trenches.
Once the Germans retreated in World War I and abandoned their trenches, Allied soldiers would go investigate their trenches and sometimes be met with surprises. The German army had food, cans, and shoes that could be used as explosive, trip mines, and many more things that could benefit the Allied powers. As Presbyterian College history professor Dr. Michael Jackson states, the experience of trench warfare was one of the most horrifying experiences of the entire First World War.
Yeah, so I think when you kind of look at this trench warfare experience overall, I think you could make an argument that this was a very, very brutal experience for both soldiers on the Allied side and on the Central side. I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that these were unfavorable conditions that a lot of these soldiers had to go through. Soldiers had to sleep on soil, they had to experience soldiers getting blown up next to them, blood being spattered on their face. It was kind of a very, very brutal experience, but I think when you look at the experience of trench warfare, it kind of changed the way of how people fought throughout World War I and throughout future wars.
From BBC World News, I'm Mitchell Mercer.